I'm going to go over everything that you're concerned about. Why? But because I was in the same situation. I know what it feels like to have a mass exodus. I know what it feels like not to be profitable. I know what it feels like to question myself the entire way. I also know what it feels like to invest into others so I can find the path of prosperity. All right. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I am your host, Araujo. If you can take a minute here just to check in, say hi. I'm excited about today's conversation. Actually, I'm a little fired up about today's conversation. Over the years, I've invested a lot of money in my personal coaching and consulting over the last 7 years. And what I've invested is a fraction of what I've gotten, right? Is a fraction of what I've been able to build since then. And we're talking hundreds. I mean, over half a $1,000,000 in my personal coaches and consultants. I've even paid for 1-day coaching sessions. And if I tell you the price, I think most of you would almost like your stomach would hurt, right? Because that was my initial reactions. But I started seeing, what it did for me. And that's just one side of it, just the personal coaching and consulting, but also the millions that I spent in the infrastructure. And many of you that have been here since day one have seen that. I never shy away from putting out the best or trying to become the best, right? In where I'm at that time, and making these heavy investments so that we can continue to grow and prosper. And I also do it for a main reason, is to hopefully inspire you to get out of your comfort zones, right? And to be able to see even greater value in yourself. And that's what today's subject is. It's about how you buy is how you sell. How you buy is how you sell. And I've seen many individuals kind of struggle with this on a consistent basis. They struggle with their clients making a decision. They struggle with their clients getting stuck on the minute things, right? Getting stuck in the weeds. Canceling contracts because of minor issues with the home. Second guessing their decisions. Hesitating to a point where they lose out on the opportunity. And it's really discouraging for you as the agent, right? Because you're like, hey, how come they can't make a decision? And you also get frustrated and get to a point where you're disgruntled. You're disgruntled that they can't move forward. You're disgruntled that they won't listen to you, that they won't go above and beyond to try to make it work, that they try to hold back. And I can see that. It's very frustrating, right? When you tell your clients, hey, this is what you should do, and they hesitate. Or you tell them, hey, I need you to go above this amount, and they refuse to. And you find yourself just spinning your wheels. And it's frustrating for you, it's frustrating for your client, and you almost have like this chip on your shoulder, right? It's like, I really don't want to go out with this person again. But I want you to really analyze on how your clients approach things, okay? Because it really aligns with how you approach things when you go to buy, okay? Because how you buy is how you sell. So if you're constantly just focused on price, then don't be surprised if your clients always hit you up for your commissions on price, right? Try to reduce your fees, or try to negotiate where you offer them a part of your commission, right? Where you give them a part of your commission to close their transaction. And I see this. I see the patterns in many of this. It reminds me of this particular agent, high producer, but he was one of these salesmen. I mean, that was his vibe, right? If you presented something to him, he would always give you a lower price. Like, it was just part of his nature. It was never where he just said, hey, I see the value, I see the price that you want. Let me go ahead and pay you for that. It was always like a game. And many of you maybe see your own patterns as a game, right? I'm going to negotiate the best price. I am going to, if my landscaper says this amount, I'm going to beat him up and I'm going to get this price. It's like everything that you do will come all the way around. And this particular agent, I would notice that his commissions were always always reduced. Like, he was a top performer, but yet people that were doing 30% less were earning more money than him. Because the way he approached his own sales is like he knew that his clients will always negotiate, so he's willing to give it up, because that's the same thing he does on the buy side. And he psychologically put himself at a disadvantage. Always just racing to the bottom and not value, racing on price and not value. And the reason I'm holding this conversation is because we got to see our own patterns. In order to succeed, in order to be more profitable, we got to be able to see how we approach things when we go to buy. If we're constantly racing to the bottom, your clients are going to come to you and race to the bottom or try to get a portion of your commission or have you reduce your commissions. And this is the way we got to see things, like what is the value that you're bringing out to the marketplace? And if you value other people, then others will value you. I recently announced this big money brokerage 2-day event for brokerage owners, independent brokerage owners just like I did. This is something that I wish was available to me 5 years ago, 7 years ago, as I was struggling, right? I hired a lot of coaches, but I had to piece all these things together. I had to piece all this information, but I also had to put my money where my mouth is, right? I didn't ask people to do things for free. And it's amazing what happens. And not to say that if you pay people what they're worth, that people are not going to come to you and try to negotiate. There's another face to this. It's you having the courage to say no. You having the courage to tell your clients they got to figure it out, right? It's their closing fees. They must pay for this. Your job was to get their hands on a property, which is very tough in today's marketplace. You simply getting a contract accepted, that's value that most agents can't deal with. I mean, if you look at the numbers, most agents can't get their clients under contract. So that's true value. Now you going and cutting your commissions as well for their closing costs. Well, you don't have the courage to stand up for your value. And listen, again, like if you pay people what they're worth, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get people that are trying to negotiate their way to having you reduce this or offer them a less price or whatever it may be. I'm not saying that at all. But you got to have the courage, right, to say no. You got to have the courage to remind them of what you've already delivered. But it also starts on your side. Don't race to the bottom. Don't try to cut corners. Don't try to over negotiate with the people that are offering the service to you. This is where you need to analyze. But if you're very hesitant about making a decision, your clients are going to be very hesitant about making decisions. If they get stuck on the little things, right, making mountains out of molehills, it's because you make mountains out of molehills. You're still contemplating buying that computer that you know you need because of the expense. Guess what your clients are doing? They're going to get stuck on the electrical repairs just because they're not up to code. Well, they were up to code when they was built in the 1980s, but now in 2022, it may not be, and they get stuck there. But maybe it's a reflection on how you approach things. You just need to pull the trigger. You just need to move forward. So now going back to my story, I announced this big money brokerage. And I belong to these broker owner groups. And I had so many people reach out. And they said, wow, this is great. Can you tell me more about it? Hey, AZ, can I pick your brain? Can I pick your brain for a minute? And, at first I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to say, I really don't have time. And I know how this works. If you pick my brain, you're not going to do shit with it either way. Most people don't do things until they have skin in the game, right? So now I've learned just to ask other questions like, hey, what do you want to talk about? What is it that you have in mind? And they're like, hey, well, I want to know how you were able to build this no-name brokerage into a powerhouse in your market. How are you able to get the highest sales per agent in your market? And listen, I'm willing to share. But I don't owe you anything, right? I don't. And sometimes for the sake of being friendly, we devalue ourselves. For the sake of knowing, just because you know someone, you devalue yourself because you have a family member or a friend that calls you up. Hey, I'm thinking about selling my home. You race to the bottom as opposed to letting them know that you're going to represent them better than anyone else out there. And some agents approach buyers like they're doing them a favor. Right? Like the buyer's doing the agent a favor. When we should approach it based on our value and based on our experience and what we vested into our business. So I had a few individuals, hey, I want to pick your brain. So I'm like, oh, what do you want to talk about? Well, check out my 2-day event. I'm going to go over everything that you're concerned about. Why? Because I was in the same situation. I know what it feels like to have a mass exodus. I know what it feels like not to be profitable I know what it feels like to question myself the entire way. I also know what it feels like to invest into others so I can find the path of prosperity. So I had this one particular lady, I want to pick your brain. She's so excited. Hey, do you have a minute? And I'm like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Okay, cool. Hey, check out this event. I think it'll serve you. And she gets stuck before she even knows the price. How much is it? I could tell what kind of individual that is. How much is it? Like, why don't you learn if this can be the exact thing that you need to absolutely dominate your space, to absolutely break the ceiling that you've put on yourself for many, many years. And if you're always asking what the price is before you actually find out if that product or service can serve you, then don't be surprised when your clients come to you and try to nickel and dime you each and every time. And it's funny, and I know why this individual is stuck where she's at. If this price, of all the things that I've learned, over $500,000 in personal coaches and consultants, and millions of dollars in my own infrastructure, my experience with employees, with CPAs, my experience with running a brokerage with 200 agents, you want to pick my brain? You're not going to do anything with it. But instead, she gets stuck at the very thing that's keeping her from growing. And it's amazing because I see a total polarity to that as well. Individuals fill out the application and they want to get on the call right away. And before I can finish speaking, they're like, all right, the payment's been sent. I can see where they're going. They already have a record of growth and prosperity. And what they need is one or two key moves to completely dominate their space. And I know I can deliver on that. But it's amazing. And now I know why that lady is stuck where she's at. Because she doesn't see the value in others, so her agents are not going to see the value in her. And I think all of you are here because you know I want you to win. You know I want you to be able to capture life's lessons and dominate your space. You know I'm available to you. You see the value in me and I see the value in you. But a lot of individuals, they don't see that in others. And that's why others can't see that in them. And then having the courage, right? To say, no. I've been in this industry many years. And I have a lot of brokerage friends across the country. I used to travel with them. We used to build business together, especially during the REO days. And again, I announced this big money brokerage. And some of them reached out and said, hey, Z, hey, I'd like to stop by your office. Maybe we can mastermind. That's not what I'm offering, dude. Check out my event. You see, just because we know each other doesn't mean I am going to devalue myself. I put my money where my mouth is. I've invested and I made moves based on that. If you're unwilling to do that, then it's just a waste of my time. We're not masterminding. You're trying to get off of me what took me years to learn and to apply. Many of you have been in this business many years. You have the experience to get contracts accepted. But because your approach to people who want to sell you something is about racing to the bottom, that's why you're still struggling financially. And we got to shift our minds. And I'm not saying just because somebody offers you something, you buy it. What I'm saying is, like, if there's value there, you pull the trigger. But I had the courage to say to the people that I know, my time isn't free. And the person you knew 3 years ago, 4 years ago, is not the same person, brother. We're not on the same page. I promise you that. And if you want my time, you also have to have skin in the game, because my time is my skin in the game. And it's not one way. And that's why I pour into this brokerage, because I know you all have skin in the game. But that's what it's about. But you got to be able to see that, right? So let's start looking at where we can analyze our own actions. Let's start looking at how we approach certain things. Because your failure to say no to certain things will only attract more of that. Yes, I got a couple people that try to circumvent by picking my brain or coming in free, but I also got a flip side to that. That paid it in full, wired me the money, put it on their credit cards. Because they see the value and experience. And I see the value in you. But you got to also see the value in others. So yeah, know your worth, right? Know your worth. And guess what? Sometimes saying no can put that money at risk, can put your commission at risk. But I'll tell you what, you'll be in a more powerful position. And because you said no to this, you'll attract more of what you truly want, not people that are racing to the bottom. And when I said no to low, like racing to the bottom, yeah, I lost a few. But now I'm in an environment that I absolutely love. I'm in an environment that I absolutely am passionate about. And that's what makes us unique, right? So, again, just watch your patterns, see where you're at, and also what's your approach like, and have the courage to say no. Just like I have the courage to the people that I've known for years, but it's like, come on, guy, we're not the same. And in reality, no one's going to do a better job than you when it comes to serving your clients. I'm going to say that again, okay? No one's going to do a better job than you when it comes to serving your clients. So come in with that approach. All right. Well, thank you again for joining me. Amir perfectly said, my time is my skin in the game. Absolutely. So let's watch our entire, how we operate everything and how we make decisions. Let's watch just our patterns and let's make the best of it. Thank you guys for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. I will talk to you soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.